Today, an AWS outage halts withdrawals for some crypto exchanges overnight. The SEC delays its decision on whether ETH ETFs should include staking. And Michael Sonnenshein of Securitize sits down with us to discuss today's acquisition of MG Stover's fund administration business. Welcome to CNBC's Crypto World. I'm Tanea McKeel. Crypto markets are mixed this morning, with Bitcoin trading just under $85,000 by noon Eastern. Ether hovered around $1,620, and Binance's BNB token held steady at right around $585. That's despite an outage temporarily halting some of the crypto exchange's operations overnight. Okay, let's talk more about that outage as we hit our top stories. An Amazon Web Services disruption halted withdrawals for some crypto exchanges overnight. Binance and KuCoin both announced they were impacted by an AWS network failure, which in turn led Binance to temporarily suspend withdrawals. According to an AWS service health page, a data center in the Asia-Pacific region experienced a disruption around 3:40 a.m. Eastern due to a power outage. That downtime lasted about an hour. After AWS resolved the issue, Binance announced operations were restored and that it continued to monitor the situation, while KuCoin assured that funds were safe and no platform data was lost. Next, the SEC has delayed its decision on staking for ETH ETFs. In a notice filed yesterday, the agency designated June 1st as its new deadline. The filing specifically relates to Grayscale's request to amend its ETH ETFs to permit staking. Ether-focused funds have struggled to win investor interest compared to Bitcoin ETFs. Many point to the lack of staking rewards as a reason investors have yet to buy in. The industry is hopeful a more crypto-friendly SEC will eventually permit staking. Now the agency also has pushed its deadline to decide on permitting in-kind creations and redemptions for specific spot Bitcoin ETFs to June 3rd. If approved, this would allow authorized participants to exchange shares of a fund for Bitcoin instead of cash. All right, for our main story, I sat down with Michael Sonnenshein, who's the Chief Operating Officer of the tokenization platform Securitize, to discuss the acquisition of MG Stover's fund administration business. The deal, which just closed this morning, marks a major milestone for the company, as Securitize Fund Services will now service $38 billion in assets across more than 700 funds. Well, Michael, it's so nice to see you. You and I go way back in this industry. Thank you for joining me today on Crypto World. Securitize has some news to announce today. You guys completed an acquisition this morning, acquiring the fund administration business of MG Stover. Tell me about that for people who are not deep in that business. Why did you want a fund administration business? What are you getting out of this?
Sure. Well, this is really big news for us. So Securitize, as you know, sits between asset issuers and public blockchains. And as we've brought more and more products to market over the course of our history, one area that we've gotten really familiar with is fund administration. So about a year ago, we launched fund administration at Securitize under Securitize Fund Services. That endeavor has been really successful, and we've known the MG Stover team for quite some time. And so when the opportunity came to acquire the fund admin team at MG Stover and merge them in with Securitize Fund Services, we knew this would be a natural fit, combining our technological prowess on public blockchains and tokenization with also that traditional fund administration work. Now the combined teams make Securitize Fund Services the largest digital assets focused fund administrator in the world, servicing about $38 billion in client assets and over 700 funds. So very exciting news, and really excited to see all the synergies of bringing that team on board.
So that is exciting news. Tell me a little bit about who or what you see as Securitize's competition and how this deal gives you a little bit more of an edge there.
Well, I think what's so exciting about working with Securitize is really the breadth and depth of the services that we offer. So we are primarily known as a tokenization platform, but we also now offer fund administration. We're a broker-dealer that's licensed to sell tokenized securities. We have a business that sells, custom SMAs to financial advisors. We have both an analog and a digital transfer agent. So I think for us, when we think about who our clients and partners are, we do have some folks that may solely come to us just for transfer agency work or just for fund administration work. But increasingly, I think seeing the success we've had across serving in many of these capacities for our clients, we're seeing more and more asset issuers coming to us and really taking advantage of the full breadth and depth of the Securitize offering.
Now, Securitize is also the tokenization partner on BlackRock's BUIDL Fund, which was launched last year on Ethereum. It's since brought into several blockchains. last month hit $1 billion in AUM, and then last week, I believe, not even a month later, hit $2 billion in AUM. Is that crazy? Did that surprise you?
Well, listen, the BUIDL product has been an unbelievable success. I think it's certainly well past the point of being a proof of concept. And we're really seeing that on-chain acceptance and acknowledgement of tokenized treasuries. You know, the RWA space has more than doubled in the last year. And within that, the tokenized treasury market, I think, has grown maybe almost 600% over the same period. And so BUIDL, you know, passing 2 billion, being the category killer leading product, is really starting to find not just product market fit with those investing in tokenized treasuries for their balance sheet, or whether they're a foundation, a DAO, you know, a corporation, but now you're starting to see other use cases unlocked where investors are beginning to use BUIDL as collateral when they post it to a market maker, or collateral where they can post it to an exchange. So there is this investor mindset that I think is shifting, thinking about tokenized treasuries, or almost like a tokenized money market fund, in a way that really does outshine their traditional counterparts, like a traditional money market fund.
You and I were just talking off camera about some of the chaos in the market last week. And I wanted to ask you a little bit about that and the demand for products like BUIDL, and products like it. I mean, your business is tokenizing real world assets, and we've been watching the markets, not even just last week, but for the last several weeks, with all of the uncertainty, and watching the outperformance of gold and talking about what it means for the future of Bitcoin. But as we look at all these other assets, and you were looking at tokenizing them, you know, for not just institutional investors, but kind of marrying the crypto investors with the traditional investors, where is this going, and what kind of impact do you ultimately see this happening on, you know, this growing and exciting space that's become so popular of tokenizing real world assets?
Well, I think we're still in the earliest innings of where this ultimately will go as an industry, and certainly as a subset of assets within the tokenized securities space. So certainly talking about BUIDL, but you know, at Securitize, we've also tokenized the largest public equity company called Exodus that trades on the New York Stock Exchange. We've tokenized venture capital fund for Parify. We've now tokenized the largest private credit fund for Apollo. And so we are starting to unlock and open up new areas of investment, not just in product structure, but also in the underlying investment strategy. And the asset issuers are coming to Securitize for really a variety of reasons. It could be democratizing access, right? There may not be regular channels to access as large of an audience as they may want to be able to offer these products to. It could be because tokenization offers other features or attributes that they can't in their traditional counterparts. So in BUIDL, for example, we're offering and paying out daily dividends, whereas when you own a traditional money market fund, it's monthly or quarterly. And then we're also really seeing how the use cases and the utility of these assets goes well beyond just the investment themselves, but also connecting them to perhaps the world of DeFi as examples. And so we're still in the earliest phases of this, and I'm optimistic, despite what kind of turbulence you may see in the market, that investors' interest in continuing to think about their wallets as a place to house investments, as opposed to just their brokerage accounts, is an idea that's here to stay and is only going to grow from here.
Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock, just had his annual letter out. He said in it that every asset can be tokenized, and if they are, it will revolutionize investing. Now, that is a big vision compared to how quickly institutions like BlackRock can move, despite how quickly they may want to move. And as a partner to BlackRock on tokenization, and someone very familiar with the space and how companies like this do business, give me a reality check on what realistically can happen in the next few years in terms of, as the meme goes, tokenizing all the things.
Well, a lot can happen, to say it succinctly, right? Existing rules and regulations are what applies to the securitized business today. So we're not needing or waiting for new rules or regs to be able to continue to tokenize securities, sell tokenized securities, and do so across a variety of asset classes. And so I think that type of commentary is a grand vision, but it also is possible. And as I just shared, we've begun to tokenize assets across so many different types of both product structures and underlying exposures that it is possible to continue to do this. I think what's different about where we are with tokenized assets and RWAs as opposed to perhaps where we were in the early days of crypto, is that you already now have the involvement of BlackRock and Apollo and Hamilton Lane and KKR. And certainly in the earliest days of crypto adoption, you and I remember well, you didn't have that buy-in, you didn't have that participation from the world's largest and most recognized asset managers. And so I do think that portends very well for the future and also the growth rate that we'll see around the space.
Okay, that's all for Crypto World today. We'll be back again tomorrow, and we'll see you then.